Hi guys, and welcome to my review of It Chapter 2 from 2019. This is the second part of the 2017 adaptation, which I've reviewed on my channel here as well, which you can check out. And in a review, I was saying that that was one of the most anticipated adaptations I had, and it still ranks as one of my top horror adaptations. Just kind of for that reason, because it was an adaptation I felt we really kind of needed. Have been, and I say that having been somebody who had read the Stephen King novel, which is absolutely a brick of a book, I tell you. So it's no surprise that this was cut into like two movies. So this one really picks up like 27 years after, where we have a Losers Club now, obviously as adults, and they find out that Pennywise is back, so they all have to kind of reunite to go back to Derry to face Pennywise once more. And that's pretty much the kind of the bare bones of what the story is. And for some reason, this film is 3 hours long, nearly, and it's not a 3 hour film like Lord of the Rings, where you can go, well, it's 3 hours, but we all still love it. It's not that type of film at all. Like, you really feel the runtime in this movie. Like, and you have to put that down to pacing. And I think that that kind of combined with what I was saying previously in my previous review, that I just don't feel like this story is quite as effective as when you change the perspective to the adults. I think that this is just so much more effective when the children and their perspectives are kind of at the forefront of this movie. And here you have obviously largely from the adults, and one of the differences from the book is similar to what we got in the first half, where the book is constantly flicking back and forth between timelines. This largely stays with the adults, just like the first half stays with the kids. All apart from this one, I think there's one or two flashback scenes where we get to revisit the kids. And because they're used so minimally, I kind of feel conflicted, because this brings me on to another criticism I had for the movie, where just in those 2 years between these two movies, obviously the kids have aged quite significantly. So, or at least the 2 year gap has changed their appearance more significantly, should I say. And so they've had to use like some CGI to kind of de-age them in the flashback scenes. And I was saying, like, one of the few criticisms I had of the 2017 version is the amount of CGI, and so now we got some more CGI thrown in, and it's kind of like it's not a real glaring problem in terms, at least in when you compare it to all the other issues that this movie has. But because, like I said, it's only like one or two scenes, I think you kind of have this in. So it is kind of very minimal, but because it's used so minimally, and it usually the approach that these adaptations have usually taken is the first part is going to be the kids, the second part is going to be the adults. I kind of wonder how necessary it was that they needed to kind of put themselves through that. You know what I mean? And so I feel like I said, because of the absence of it going back and forth, which I'm normally would be more of a fan of, but as I said, because I just don't find the adults taking on Pennywise as engaging as when the kids are at the forefront, then it's sort of, and because this is largely the adults that we're sticking with, and we're sticking with them for 3 hours, and it's essentially just them banding together again to take on Pennywise. And like I said, that's somehow taken the course of 3 hours. it just drags, and it just doesn't, and it's just not as enjoyable, as digestible as the first one is. Where the first one I can still pop on any time and go, yeah, but they, but it was fine, yeah, great, good stuff. And this one just kind of feels like it's not something where I feel like I wouldn't revisit again, because I will almost certainly find myself wanting to revisit this and sporadically, and feel in the mood for popping it back on, and giving it other chances, just because I love the story, and I love I love the Stephen King and the source material so much. But I but yeah, this does take a lot more of an investment to kind of stick with for 3 hours, and because the pacing is really off, like I said, it does really become quite a slog. I think one of the things that do have, um what I will say is, in the positives here, is the Bill Skarsgård is still great as Pennywise in this. I will say that the casting choices are great in this. I feel like when you look at how the Losers Club were in the first one as kids, and you go 27 years later, you literally have no problems believing that these are literally the adult versions of those kids. The casting is so it is so well thought out, and it is so spot on. A lot of praise especially has been put onto Bill Hader's portrayal as Richie. I personally am on the minority here, because while I think that Bill Hader was a great choice, as I said, like, I think all of the cast were right choices for these roles. So I'm not knocking their performance; it's more to do with their characterizations. I felt the fact that it was just because he was still kind of this almost man-child, which is kind of a fundamental part of a character, I guess. But I just find it, it's a very subjective thing, I know, but I just find it a little bit grating sometimes. So I didn't love the characterization as much as maybe a lot of other people, because I feel like after hearing from, because it seemed like there's I heard from quite a few people where this was one of the big standouts, that they really liked Bill Hader and characterizations. So yeah, but yeah, that is really pretty much it. And I know that I guess some sort of purists will try and defend this as well, by kind of saying, well, obviously it's a brick of a novel, and there's all this stuff in the novel, and that's why it's kind of like here. But that's kind of not how these like adaptations work. You need to know kind of what to put in and what to cut. And like I said, because I feel like the kids when in the first one, where the kids are at the forefront of all this horror, I feel, because that's a lot more thematic and a lot more effective, and that movie is only like 2 hours long, and here we have the adults where it's just not as effective. And I don't feel like that's just me saying it. I think that is a general consensus. And we've got like that version of it is like 3 hours. It just, yeah, like I said, it's a slog. So, and it's it's so disappointing, because obviously I really want to love this movie. And every time I try to revisit it and make myself love it, I just don't. There's stuff that I do enjoy about it. I think this is a bigger budget than the first one, so that shows in the set designs. The set designs are really impressive here. And like I said, everyone, I think, does a really, really good job in terms of acting and the casting and everything. Obviously, Bill Skarsgård is still great as Pennywise. But yeah, there's just no need for this movie to be 3 hours, and it really does damage the film, I think, quite significantly. So and it's one of the few where I feel like if I'm in the mood to watch the adult's perspective of this story, I'm probably just gonna stick a second half of a mini series on. It's a one bit where I kind of have, where I do feel like the mini series handles slightly better. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for my review, guys. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to ring a bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know down in the comment section what your own thoughts were. What did you guys think of this It Chapter 2? And yeah, like I said, I've reviewed the 2017 movie on here. I've reviewed the 1990 miniseries, and then I will be reviewing next week It Welcome to Derry episodes 1 and 2 when I finally get around to watching. I've been holding off watching it at the minute because I just want to watch the first 2 episodes and do more. When I'm introduced to it, I just want to do more of a binge watch, so that's why I've kind of like pushed it back a little bit. So but yeah, my review of It Welcome to Derry episodes 1 and 2 will be coming the beginning of next week. So yes, keep your eyes peeled for that, and until next time, I will see you guys on the next video.